board meeting, we're going to have just an hour for our committee meeting this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and get things underway and call the meeting to order. Are there any conflicts of interest that any of the committee members need to make? Hearing none, Dr. Miller, would you mind please reading the hospital's mission statement?
Nashville General Hospital mission is to improve the health and wellness of Nashville by providing equitable access to coordinated patient-centered care, supporting tomorrow's caregivers, and translating science into clinical practice. Our vision is leader in exceptional community health care, one neighbor at a time.
Great, thank you, Dr. Miller. Because it's a public meeting, each meeting, we have the opportunity for the public to make comments. Do we have any public comments?
No public comments.
Great, thank you. The next item on our agenda is approval of our minutes from our November 12th meeting. You've had an opportunity to review those. They were sent in advance of the meeting, part of the meeting materials. Is there a motion to approve previous meeting minutes?
Move approval.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the previous minutes say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We approve the minutes. We have no old business, so I don't know if this is old business or new business. Interim business is that we always have delicious food provided to us from the hospital that is available. Every member of the committee, all of the guests, everyone who is here is welcome at any point during the meeting or afterwards to enjoy this delicious food. Puts to rest any jokes people have about hospital food. This is fantastic, and we, as always, appreciate the hospital providing us lunch while we conduct our business. So on to the new business, and I'm very pleased to say that our friends from AMN Healthcare are here. We have talked to them before. We've concluded a very thorough RFP process where we had a number of bidders who sought to be the search firm to work with us in conjunction with our search, our CEO search, and very pleased that we're here working with AMN, and especially pleased that we're here to kick off the CEO search. Such an important piece of work that we have ahead of us. I'm very grateful to AMN B.E. Smith for their help with us. So with that, I will turn it over to Mick, who's going to, he and his team, are going to go through the agenda for today's meeting.
Great. Thank you, David. I'm very honored to have been selected and have the opportunity to be back and working with all you. So first, I want to say that on behalf of our whole team and organization. We have an agenda today that we've outlined, but I really want to make sure that this is a discussion with the search committee and really kind of the start of us understanding what you're looking for in a CEO. And so I would defer to your agenda as much as anything as well. We'll ask a lot of questions and insight. I want to make sure that lines up with your expectations for the meeting today. And again, being condensed to 60 minutes, we'll try to be as efficient as we can. As I look at the outline of our outline for the meeting today, we would spend time to go over the search process, the CEO search process. If we want to, we can provide you with a timeline after the fact and spend our time mostly on kind of intake for the position, if that works for everybody. Excellent. The first thing I want to outline is the working relationship with us and the search committee. We alluded to it when we were here last, but I want to reiterate, this is a partnership in which we're executing your search, right? So we're gonna go through this search together and working together. We will outline some of the time commitments for you. We're going to update every couple weeks as we go through the search. We are going to ask for a 90-minute time window with the search committee when we present candidates. And then the first round interviews will be the biggest ask of time commitment from the search committee anyway, in which we would like to identify 5 or 6 candidates where we're going to schedule 2 hours apiece for each of those candidates, expecting a 90-minute interview. And that will be the big time commitment that we'll ask. We will get that scripted out with specific dates well in advance that we know will work for everybody. One of the luxuries in a CEO search is the cadence and having the opportunity to schedule those things well in advance. So we'll know when we start, we'll know what transitions will take place, when they take place, and when we'll get to that final decision. So we can provide you that specific timeline after the discussion today, because there might be some things that we uncover that we want to make sure we accommodate your schedules to make sure that that works. But again, I'll just lastly reiterate, it's your search that we're executing, and we're doing that together. So we'll provide all the guidance and expertise and experience that we can to that, but we certainly look forward to your input in that process. Any questions on that, or observations, notes? All right. I want to give quick introductions. Hisham and I were here last time. We've got a couple of new faces for you as well. Just to give an overview, and then I'll let each say good morning. Julie Dieter and I will be responsible for leading the search. The two of us will be co-leading. Hisham, who you've met previously, again, will continue to be our support as consultant. In this case, as you would know, as a recruiter. So he'll be out in front identifying candidates and doing some of the initial screens. And then Rob Brinkerhoff is joining us today as our practice leader. So bringing a little horsepower to the room. So, but Julie, if you want to give a quick introduction.
Absolutely. Very nice to be here today. Thank you again for inviting us back a second time, and excited to be a part of this search. But my name's Julie Dieter. I'm a senior consultant and again co-leading with Mick, and looking forward to identifying a number of candidates for you to choose from that exceed your expectations and align with the profile that we outlined today.
And Julie's based out of Ohio, Columbus, Ohio.
I am. I'm based out of Columbus, Ohio.
Good morning. Hello, Rob Brinkerhoff. I'm actually based out of the Columbia, South Carolina area, and joined AMN recently as search leader, and really just want to thank you again for the opportunity to be here and partner with you as we get this done. We're excited about it. Thank you.
Thank you all search committee members for having us again. My name is Hisham Siddiqui. Nice to see you all again. By title, I'm consultant. By responsibilities, I am leading the front end of the recruitment process, as Mick mentioned. So that first layer of interviews and really vetting candidates, that'll be done by me before I potentially move candidates on to Mick and Julie to further vet. As we mentioned last time, it's going to be not only a matter of experience, but fit. That's going to be the biggest thing for us to vet. So I look forward to working with you all with this.
Excellent, thank you. I think maybe a good place to start is maybe an update. It's been a while since we were here, right, earlier in the year. What's happened, and with the role particularly, right? We've got an interim in place, so maybe just an overview of where we've been through 2025 as a starting point for where we're launching from now.
I can start and then invite other committee members, and also note that we have several board members here as well. So I'm really pleased that we have very good participation and involvement from the committee and the entire board. You are right. Since we were last here, we have appointed an interim CEO, Dr. Elders, who is also serves as the chief nursing officer and was the chief nursing officer for the hospital before she assumed this dual role on an interim basis. I think it's accurate to say that since Dr. Elders assumed the interim CEO role, that the hospital has been engaged in a very successful effort to evaluate its finances, evaluate staffing, evaluate leadership, and make decisions that have really put the hospital on a new trajectory, and very improved relations with Meharry Medical College, which had been not the relationship that we needed in the past. We have signed a professional services agreement, renewed that. A huge deficiency over the last several years has been the absence of a written agreement with our key partner. And so that relationship is on now very firm footing and is a good basis for both institutions to move forward. And so there has been quite a bit of change internally at the hospital in that sense. As it affects the CEO search, I think the part of the reason that we have the luxury of going through a very thorough RFP process was that the hospital is in capable hands in the existing leadership team, and we have the luxury of being able to do a thorough community assessment, get input from all of our stakeholders, do a thorough search for the person who has the qualities that we're going to identify in conjunction with our community partners and stakeholders for the next CEO. So I think that we are in a good position in that sense. And I invite others if there's other kind of relevant considerations that would be helpful to AMN to know about as we go into this process.
I mean, I would strongly agree with all of that. The one thing I would add is that with what Dr. Elders has done, the functioning of the hospital has overwhelming support from the staff, and in looking at a CEO going forward, that's so important. It's something we didn't have, and also overwhelming support from the Hospital Authority Board, and that's a huge change from where we were several months ago.
Yeah, several of these things, and maybe some trust rebuilt, right, in what we're doing. That's good to hear. Very good to hear.
I'm Chike Nzeru. I'm a practicing physician here, and just to echo what the chair has said, this is a community teaching hospital. So community teaching hospitals, they walk on three legs. So you got the community, the staff, and then the medical school affiliate. So where the hospital's been, we went through a situation where the three legs were kind of wobbly, or some might even say broken. If you can imagine trying to run Bellevue Hospital without NYU, or trying to run Grady Hospital in Atlanta without Emory and Morehouse. This was the kind of scenario we had. And also there was, with the staff, for several reasons, we're kind of in a difficult place. So the new interim CEO has worked really hard. She's mended a lot of this. But we just want to make sure that as we do the search, we describe the role well so that nobody would try to do what the previous CEO did, where he just kind of cut off those three legs and said, I can do it all by myself. Yeah. Thank you.
The other piece I'd like to mention is just the partnerships that I feel like have been renewed as well in the community, both with the mayor's office and council members, as well as other healthcare stakeholders, whether it be Vanderbilt or groups like Ascension St. Thomas. And I think those were fractured before, and we're seeing an overwhelming amount of support and communication that both with the clinical staff as well as leadership, that we are going the right direction, and we have a lot of people really engaged and excited about where we're going. So I think that is a very different place than we have been as well.
Well, I'm thinking about it in terms of a behavioralist aspect. It feels good. It feels different. and it feels very positive. And I think that that's the sense that I'm getting in the community as well. I think the lines of communication are much better. I think the data information is intentional in terms of trying to acquire and to learn the source of something, to identify what something is, and the resolve. And all of these changes have come at an incredibly warp speed pace where it is different. And so I certainly would love to see that kind of energy and enthusiasm be maintained throughout. It is really important. This is the People's Hospital, and it should be resourced. It should be supported in every way, not just having people come, but have students learn, residents become more proficient, and so forth, in a healthy community. Given the social circumstances that we face, and that we have to be incredibly creative, given that we are as unique as we are.
I can't really improve on anything that's been said and agree with all of it. Our one thing is that our financial situation has improved significantly. And another is there's still an elephant in the room or on the table or maybe under the table right now, which is that we're in an aging facility, and the future boards and future leadership will be needing to deal with that once we get squared away with our leadership.
If not any other comments, I want to hone in on financial situation has substantially improved. Tell me about that. What's the board understanding of what difference that's made and what's changed in this last year?
Can we put that on hold for just a moment? Because I think that there are people not at the table, I'm thinking of Dr. Southpaw and others and board members, leadership that are here that I would also be curious to hear from, and would invite anyone who has further comments on sort of the general state of things. Dr. Southpaw, would you like to? There's a place here.
Good morning, and thank you. I'm Jeanette Southpaw. I'm the provost of Meharry Medical College, and I'm excited to be invited to speak because that is something that we have not previously had much of an opportunity prior to Dr. Nzuri's ability to join the board. And I think that is important to have a representative of the index, the medical school that for whom this is the index hospital. And so I am absolutely excited at being welcomed and having our input heard because we have a shared mission. And I think the fact that we talk about that shared mission, the mission of serving those, many of whom don't have a voice or don't have the best access to care, is critical in any city hospital and critical in an institution like Meharry Medical College that was founded 150 years ago just to provide services to those who were less served or underserved. So it's exciting for me to see the before and after before we even get to the stage of identifying, or the board gets to the stage of identifying a new CEO. And I personally worked with Dr. Elders in my role prior to this when she was serving as the chief nursing officer, and I'm delighted with the facilitation skills that she has had to get us now engaged in this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you want to?
Alfonso Harvey here. I would just like to say, since my time coming on the board, I've taken time to kind of sit back and observe because of my background is I'm an industrial engineer, so I'm an efficiency expert. So I like to see things actually work. And since I've been here on the board, things are actually starting to work. People are doing their jobs, and the troops seem inspired. So those characteristics are coming from top down. And I would just say as you guys move forward in this process, let's not forget that it started with someone. So I would hope that the characteristics that we're seeing are conveyed in any candidates that are actually presented and brought forth for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Alfonso. Thank you, Dr. Southpaw. So I think, Mick, your question was about finances. And I'll because Dr. Martin made the comment, or our chair, Ms. Smith, and previous chair of the Finance Committee, Dr. Nzarue. I'm looking at all the finance people over here.
So I believe the question was about, the changes that have been made. There was an extensive process by which we hired a third party to work with our finance department to evaluate the processes at the hospital. There were manifestations of some of the irregularities that were found in the audit that Metro had done and Crossland had also noted over the years. And we focused our efforts on getting those cleaned up and then developing processes, obviously retooling some of the personnel in those departments to get a good handle on where we are. At this point, I think our finance department feels comfortable with the cleanup that has happened, and we're headed the right direction. I would tell you that there was about a $14 million change that has happened. We were not headed in a good direction, and the burn rate was just significant. So I think the cleanup has happened. We can get into the details at a different conversation, but I think where we're headed at this point is being comfortable with the material that's being presented, the infrastructure that's supporting the record keeping and the decisions around that. Those decisions are also being pushed down through different lines of businesses, through each chief and the P&L of those specific departments. And there is a process that is continued based on the steps that were kind of uncovered and worked on. I think that our focus now has to be on growth. And we've heard in some of our board meetings about areas in which the hospital has deployed assets or equipment and now have mended relationships and are building out the clinical physicians that are needed to make that revenue stream happen. One of those is our interventional cardiology department. We've talked about other areas of growth with radiology and some of the imaging machines that we have there, and then also our specialty pharmacy area. And we continue to also look at our federal and state funding. We're not sure exactly what that looks like in 2026 with some of the cuts, but definitely have a higher level of partnership and engagement with our lobbyists and groups and friends at THA to better understand what those opportunities can be and make sure that we are definitely shaking those trees and letting our legislators and government officials know the need. So I think that is hopefully between the immediate cuts, managing our finances more appropriately and being a steward of taxpayer dollars, and also the growth of the revenue here, as displayed by the professionals here, and getting that word out, I think will help put us in a good stead. Any other board members? You sit in the same meetings I do, so thank you.
Well, as for someone who is not a finance person, but I certainly do understand things, even the presentation of data are different. So at least the data are different in terms of how it's examined and I mentioned earlier, identify, and also being willing to be as transparent as possible. And I see that as a real plus and a real healthy way. And I guess that's the term that I'm looking for, is the healthy way of approaching finance and to grow it, and also to be visionary. You know, what are our next steps? What do we have to do now? But what can we do in the next, few years?
As the newest member, as one of the newest members on the board, what struck me is the increased transparency with data presentation. And also, most hospitals have, you can't really call them profit centers, but every hospital, they have service line strategy. Some service lines support the entirety of the hospital. Your oncology, your emergency room, your pharmacy. There's more effort trying to strengthen those service lines that would improve the financial bottom line for the hospital. So that's one of the striking changes that I've seen.
That's one of the, and we'll dig into this further later discussions of how that's getting done, because I think that's going to be really important to make sure that we understand that and not disruptive to that. So, good. Other comments on that? All right, if not, let's switch and go. And I know that as you've prepared for this, what are we looking for? What are some of the skill sets? What are some of the things that are the non-negotiables for you in next CEO? You've had a glimpse of what has not worked well. You're starting to see what works well. So from the board perspective, what is it that we're looking for as far as skill sets that you got to have in your next CEO?
I think that one of the things that is most important is that whoever has this job needs the support of the staff. I would say that we're looking for somebody that if they're coming from another facility, that facility is mourning that loss. And that's what I would say is one of the most important things that we can do. Yeah, you've got to have management skills. The one thing that Dr. Elders has done is she's made some very tough decisions, and she's done it in a way that she's had the support of the staff. I've seen a lot of hospital administrators, make decisions, and it's just kind of in your face. And that's not how it has been here in the last several months. And so, you've got to do that and maintain not only your internal relationships with your medical staff, your nursing staff, but also your outside partners. And all of that is important in managing a successful organization.
That takes savvy to do that, right? And not burn political capital in doing it. So there's a right way to do that.
I think we're also looking for somebody who has a vision for the future and has demonstrated in their past work that they have a vision for change and a vision for the future, particularly of what the future needs of this community are and what the role of the hospital is in the 2020s, and how we can pivot however we need to optimize, maximize our service to the community based on knowledge of and research of what works not just here but other places.
Other skills.
I would say a couple of things. One, I think Dr. Nettles referenced the People's Hospital, and someone who is, I think the CEO of our hospital needs to be someone who really lives and embodies that ethos, because that's what makes us different as a healthcare provider in Nashville, where there are lots of hospitals. But it distinguishes us, and so that's part of our identity. The second thing that is, I think, a key quality that the CEO should have, particularly because we are in an antiquated facility, there is a need for a vision to what is the physical plant of the hospital and the hospital system look like based on the needs that we are meeting. That's a big undertaking to evaluate and understand, and then to execute on that. It's going to require someone who is adept at making partnerships. That is not going to happen unless a very broad cross-section of our community, a diverse set of stakeholders and people and interests come together and support the kind of change or program that is going to be required over the next 10 years, let's say. So I think somebody really needs to have a skill set that is able to bring people together, that is able to navigate when there are, of course, going to be conflicts among people's views. That's going to be really important because we have big plans. We need to have big plans, and those are the kind of skills that are going to be required to execute on big plans.
But we also need somebody who can be practical, and there are some realities for the city that, as much as they would like a new facility, that's going to have to come over time. And likely we're going to need somebody that can come in with the attitude that you can do more with less for a period of time. And one of the goals is that we have to increase the throughput of this facility in the short run, and long term, we can head towards a new facility. But we can't have somebody that comes in and says, well, I can't do anything in this facility. We need somebody that can say, I can really optimize this facility. I mean, some of us have worked in the old Nashville General, an 1898 building that was essentially condemned. But at the time that we moved out of it, it was a full hospital.
That makes it easier, right, to ask for more when you have that. You had mentioned next 10 years. Is there a timeline that the board's looking at, or have you discussed it? Probably is so unknown right now, I would guess.
Yeah, I mean, it is unknown. I say that to indicate this is a long term, and actually appreciate Dr. Miller's point that is, I don't know what that looks like. It's very amorphous, but it's long term. And in the interim, right, we are in a facility that is underutilized, perhaps dramatically underutilized. So yeah, there is, and from what I understand, I mean, the board is going to need to undertake this process, building on efforts that have already occurred, but undertake this process. But there's no situation in which there is significantly renovated or certainly new facility that is not many, many years in the future because of the planning that's required.
Now, I'd like to add that regarding a timeline to we have to be reminded of the history that is in, I mean, there is an incredible history that I think needs to be remembered in the sense that we're uniquely located where learners can walk across the street. I mean, I remember when, it just even being living here many years, several decades ago, we just walk across the hospital and learn. I think that's an incredible sense. I mean, so we have to, and then what the hospital has meant to the community, even though it was Hubbard, but now I call it, as I said, the People's Hospital. I think that has to have that thread throughout and that sense that still maintains that uniqueness, because there is a history that is needed for preservation.
That's important when you think about that connection with community, right? And location could be a huge factor in that.
I would say with regard to timeline, there's a lease that will expire on this building. And I've had conversations with Dr. Hildreth and Meharry, and they are 100% engaged and supportive of a lease extension that will continue to allow us to do the good work and have the partnership. Another piece here, though, that is, no matter what we want, there is a piece that we have to recognize, and obviously in conjunction partnership, which is our city and the mayor's office. And having directive partnership and having a lead from them is going to be integral. They are aware and of the lease. They are aware that we are interested in moving things forward more proactively in terms of community engagement and discussions around what Nashville General's future looks like and what that footprint is on Nashville. And I think there's going to be a committee that's established through the mayor's office that will also be part of that discussion. So that is something that is happening. It's ongoing. We are in regular communication with the mayor's office on these things, but understand that no matter what we want in a silo, there is a major partner and player that has to obviously help direct and move things forward. So I think that's as I'd stated before, I think that's we're in a good place with that because of our renewed relationship with the mayor's office and the transparency and collaborative spirit that all parties are coming to the table with. But I just want to make sure that we underscore that need.
Just to clarify the history, as long as we keep that as part of it, as the foundation, but regardless of the direction, because it can be anywhere, but we just don't want to lose that because it has meaning to what this work is about and getting people to come and work, but come and be served to get healthy.
Anything else regarding skill set? Great list, and it starts to paint the picture. As I hear it, there's a strategic component of this, the political component, operations. When we talk about operations, we rely on a team, right? We have to be collaborative in the way that we go about that. Is there concern on that, less concern on that with the way that things are functioning now? Or what's the board's feeling on execution on operations? Are we feeling comfortable with that? Because that it's going to have to be a piece for any executive coming into the role as well. Kind of state of the state there.
I mean, I would say that we're much more comfortable with operations. I think that if the hospital in what it is doing now is doing it so much better than it did before. The one thing that we need in operations is to increase utilization. And that's kind of a complicated, multi-pronged thing, because we've got to prove to the community that we're the hospital that we used to be, and that we can regain your confidence in the community.
It's a great time to be set up for that, though, too. With this transition and where you're going, it's perfect timing for that.
It occurs to me that this job ought to look a lot more attractive now than it did 6 months ago.
I was thinking the same. Honestly, I was thinking the same thing and just where you are as a board, the confidence and what you're seeing, it's well set up. We always like to have firm ground to build off of, right? And when it's in turmoil, that's a different challenge.
So maybe it's a blessing that it took us this long.
Thank you. We've got 10 minutes, and this is going to be a really critical question, so I'm going to ask it now, and then we can maybe finish on a different note. But we've already identified many of these, but I'm going to ask the question specifically. What are the challenges that somebody faces coming into this role? What are the challenges that the CEO is going to face? What are the challenges that the organization faces? And again, the list has started, but I'm asking it specifically to make sure that we're not missing anything. So aging building, financial performance, and that could be on culture, it could be on community, whatever that might be. But challenges that a CEO faces, what's reality for somebody coming into this role?
I mean, I think one of the things that this hospital functions with a significant subsidy from the city, and I think that the future CEO is going to have to recognize that we're going to have to function within the boundaries of that subsidy. Hopefully it can stay at least where it is, maybe grow a little bit, but that it's not an open checkbook.
Going back to utilization, prove you need it before you ever ask for it. Yeah.
Well, I think about it, what are the challenges if someone coming from a different place geographically is may face challenges that they don't have elsewhere. To financing, we have a significant city subsidy. And within that is that we don't have taxing authority. We don't have a means to raise our own revenue in the public. I think there are places where authorities have the ability to control their own financing, and not that we, the city, to its credit, is significantly investing and moving this forward. But that is the reality is that is not within our control. Relatedly, we're in a place that hasn't expanded Medicaid. And if you're coming from a different state, the financing of a public hospital looks a whole lot different than it does in the state of Tennessee. So I think there are challenges when we talk about utilization, when we talk about growing revenue, when we talk about, like Dr. Nzarue alluded to, like what are the areas of excellence within the hospital that, like, there are challenges to doing all of that. Some of them are based on, where we are and what our authority is.
That's a big difference. You're right. As far like every organization has its different nuances, and this certainly with the tie to the city could be uniquely different than what somebody's seeing coming from a different environment.
So another area of challenge is the area of the community, because there's been demographic shifts. There's the Northeast Nashville community that's been here all the time. That has to be, we have the new leader has to win their trust and appreciate the sense of history and everything. But also there's been significant gentrification around Germantown, and new people have moved in. The new CEO has to also try to engage the new people in the community, because those new people I remember when we did the street festival, there were people who said, "Oh, I moved here from Portland, Oregon. I didn't know there's a hospital around here." And the street festival was less than 3 miles from here. So there is that piece of it that they have to appreciate, that there's been significant gentrification because a lot of people sold out in Germantown and the communities are left, and all these lofts came up. So we have to try to also reach out to those two communities.
Others, challenges, reality for somebody coming in. And then we shift to the fun questions after that.
Mick, may I jump in real quick? What about from a workforce perspective? Now we hear things are well, the team seems to be engaged, but other challenges from a workforce perspective that the CEO should be aware of?
I think from what I see as someone who practices in the hospital, the staff is very engaged. And, I think sometimes they're willing to step up. We've had scenarios where they stayed behind so that something can be done at 4 p.m. on a Friday just because they wanted to make it work. So the team building, the team spirit is strong. It will be building on that and strengthening that.
Do you think that the hospital pay scale is competitive with other hospitals in town? If it's not, that would be a challenge.
I don't think it is when you compare Centennial, Ascension, and Vanderbilt, because there's a fair amount of staff we lose to the other hospitals.
We don't have near the number of contracted nurses that we did before, which was a huge financial drain. So something has changed for the better.
And this is a national problem, but there's a shortage of nurses and X-ray techs and pharmacists and so forth. And you're in a market where we have three behemoth healthcare systems. So competition for those people in this market is significant.
Yeah, your retention challenges are, that's, I won't say it's unique, but it's certainly amplified for who you are. You've got those issues with retention. So
We're also in the process of doing an employee compensation survey here at the hospital. So as that piece comes out, we'll be able to hopefully accomplish two things. One, make sure that people are being paid appropriately based on their specific job. The other thing that will follow will be a performance evaluation process that will also allow the pay structure to be more aligned with the success in their role. So everybody's not just paid flat across the board. So let's make sure that we right size where people are, and then let's make sure we reward and do everything we can to retain those individuals who are performing at a higher level. And if there are people who are not performing, then hopefully there's coaching opportunity for those, or maybe there's a different decision that needs to be made. But at the end of the day, I think we have to make sure that those steps follow in that format to be able to make sure that the performance is, we can evaluate that appropriately.
I'll want to follow up on that, but there's probably more to learn there of what restrictions you have, what flexibility you have on that. So we'll follow up on that. I want to shift. We have just 5 minutes left, and I want to at least ask some, close it on a good note. What attracts somebody to this role? What are the attractors that either to the position, the organization, the community? What are some of the things that are attractors to share with candidates?
Mission, Nashville, and in a dynamic, growing city that needs to that's learning how to do transportation and needs to learn how to do public health care.
The fact that we are partnered with an academic medical institution.
I also think that there are a lot of people that we have not partnered well with in recent years that very much want to work with Nashville General. And those would be basically all the other 3 hospital systems, I think, would like to contribute to our mission.
Yeah, if that's not being done, that's a huge opportunity, right? They want you here and doing what you're doing.
Because if we're strong, we help them out.
I think it's a unique situation where you have an institution that has been part of the community for 125 years that is not stayed. It is dynamic. Like, this is a time of real opportunity. So you have both the advantage of something that is been a part of Nashville for generations, that is on the precipice of sort of reemerging and having a lot of exciting opportunities. That's an advantageous situation for someone who really wants to build on a long story.
Other attractors. All right, as we wrap up, we're going to establish a cadence of communication with the search committee. For remaining intake, we'll probably reach out and maybe schedule one-on-ones. We'll look for your insight outside of this group as far as what that intake would look like. We're welcome to come back. We look forward to an opportunity to come back and spend the better part of a day or two here just doing intake with executive team and other key stakeholders. So keeping that in mind of who's going to be important internally and also who's going to be important externally to have the input, inclusion, again, in this CEO search process. But we'll start to establish that here in the next coming days and weeks as to what those next steps will look like. This will be the first part in getting the search started, but there's still a tremendous amount of more intake for us to do to learn and really hone in on what we're looking for. And we look for your guidance and support in what that inclusion looks like.
So on that point, while we were going through the RFP process, the committee developed a list of partners and stakeholders that we thought were important to talk about as part of this intake process. And I had told you I would send that to you, and I've now found it and we'll send it to you. So we'll look for your guidance as to how to go about doing that, whether, you know, talk with us at our meetings or you and I talk about like how to make those introductions and do that. So I think that's part of it. And then this committee meets every 2 weeks, and we had not been doing that while we're in the RFP process, but I anticipate now that we are in this full on in the CEO search process that we will keep those meetings. And so as needed, as you need things from us, you don't have to wait every 2 weeks, but there's an opportunity every 2 weeks to advise us and to tell us what you need from us as a committee. And so know that. What is the, so between now and our next meeting, what are the things that you need from us as a committee? Or I know you said individually you want to talk to people, you want to start this input process, but what are the things that we should be doing as part of this process? Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to jump in. Do you mind, they are having a employee recognition ceremony outside, and we've been asked as board members, if you don't mind, just to hop out, take a quick picture, and then we can jump right back in. Is that okay? They would like for us to show that support. We'll be right back. So,
or we can just wrap up now, like I said,
Okay.
and then
Sorry,
follow up
they
with
were
David.
just-
With
yeah.
the timing, I just don't want.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Because we have
Okay.
a board meeting to follow.
Yeah.
So,
sorry.
oh, that's all right. All right, we're going to go right now.
Yeah.
Good transition.
Will you be meeting with us individually?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, before everybody walks out, is there a motion to adjourn? I'm sorry that we're going to go, so to be abrupt, but we'll go ahead and adjourn and follow up. You all have the intake. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We're adjourned.
If you guys are hungry, get some food.